Have you noticed that something inside you has been asking for your attention, even if you have tried to stay busy enough to ignore it? I want you to stay with me for a moment, because what is unfolding in the heavens today is not something I can casually brush aside. I have been tracking this astrological build-up for weeks, and as every piece moved into position, one thought kept becoming stronger. Most people are about to experience this energy without realizing why it feels so overwhelming. Today, on July 14th, the new moon arrives in Cancer. At first glance, that might sound like another familiar lunar beginning, another invitation to set intentions and start fresh. But I do not believe this moment belongs in the same category as an ordinary new moon. In my view, this is one of the most emotionally significant celestial alignments we have witnessed in years. When I studied the chart, the precision of the planetary arrangement immediately captured my attention. Every angle, every relationship between the planets seemed to point toward one unmistakable message. Something profound is preparing to move beneath the surface of your life. This is not simply about writing hopes into a journal or standing beneath the night sky asking for blessings. The deeper story is unfolding within you. There is a place in your heart that has remained guarded for far longer than you may realize, and the energy arriving today seems determined to invite that hidden place back into the light. If the last several days have felt unusually emotional, there is a reason for that. Perhaps you found yourself crying without understanding why the emotions became so powerful. Perhaps old memories have resurfaced without warning, bringing back conversations or experiences you believed had already been healed. You may even have questioned why your mind keeps returning to people or moments that seemed finished long ago. None of this appears random to me. There is a very clear astrological explanation behind these emotional waves, and before we explore it fully, we need to step back and look at the larger picture unfolding across the sky. Once you understand how every planetary movement connects together, the emotional confusion you have been carrying may suddenly begin to make sense. The truth is that this new moon did not appear unexpectedly. It is the destination of an energetic journey that has been developing throughout the entire month of July. Every important movement has gradually prepared the way for what is happening today, and the overall configuration is unlike anything I've seen in a very long time. At this exact stage, 4 of the slowest and most influential planets in our solar system, Jupiter, Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, are all positioned at nearly the exact same degree within their respective signs. They are each gathered around 4 degrees simultaneously. When outer planets synchronize this closely, they generate an unusually deep harmonic resonance that extends far beyond individual birth charts. It influences the emotional atmosphere shared by humanity, shapes collective experiences, colors world events, and quietly reaches into the private landscape of your own inner life. Yet that remarkable alignment is only part of the story. The detail that immediately stood out to me was the way these planets are interacting geometrically. They are not simply occupying similar degrees. Together, they are creating what astrologers call a cradle pattern. This is an uncommon planetary formation built through supportive trines and sextiles, while being anchored by one powerful opposition running directly through its center. In this case, Jupiter stands opposite Pluto. Symbolically, that reflects truth facing control, personal authenticity confronting larger systems and expectations imposed from the outside world. If you have recently felt torn between following your own heart and fulfilling what others expect from you, that inner conflict mirrors this very opposition. Many people have been experiencing this invisible tug-of-war without realizing its source. One part of them longs to step toward a more authentic future, while another part fears disrupting the structures that have defined their lives for years. Yet the beauty of the cradle pattern is that it does not leave that tension unsupported. The harmonious aspects surrounding the opposition create stability around the pressure. They provide an energetic framework capable of carrying the emotional weight, instead of allowing it to become destructive. That is why this month may have felt emotionally demanding, while also carrying an unexpected sense that something meaningful has been quietly taking shape beneath every challenge. Even when life seemed uncertain, there may have been a subtle feeling that the pressure itself was serving a purpose, almost as though every uncomfortable emotion was preparing you for something valuable that had not fully revealed itself yet. If that realization already feels significant, there is another formation unfolding today that reaches even more directly into your personal life, especially into the relationships that shape your emotional world. This is where the energy becomes deeply intimate. Right now, there is a rare configuration known as a yod. Many astrologers have long referred to it as the finger of God because of the way its geometry concentrates enormous pressure toward one specific planet. Today, that focal point is Venus. Understanding how this pattern works explains why relationships, self-worth, and emotional security may suddenly feel impossible to ignore. Neptune and Pluto form the foundation of the yod through a harmonious sextile, creating a powerful current beneath the surface. From that stable base, both planets send challenging high-tension aspects toward Venus, which entered Virgo only a few days ago. Venus in Virgo already occupies a position that traditional astrology considers difficult, because this placement naturally struggles to express the planet's qualities with ease. Love becomes more analytical, affection may become more cautious, and emotional openness often requires greater effort. With Venus already navigating that vulnerable condition, receiving simultaneous pressure from Neptune and Pluto intensifies everything it represents. Venus governs relationships, personal value, financial matters, the way you offer love, and the way you believe you deserve to receive it in return. That means the emotional discoveries surfacing over the past several days are not arriving without purpose. If a relationship has suddenly looked different to you, if uncomfortable truths have begun appearing where certainty once existed, or if your understanding of love itself has started shifting in unexpected ways, this astrological pattern offers a meaningful explanation. Rather than creating these realizations from nothing, it appears to be uncovering emotions that have existed beneath the surface for much longer than you realized, preparing you for what comes next. There are moments when something that once felt completely natural suddenly becomes impossible to ignore. A relationship that always seemed stable begins to feel strangely empty. A familiar connection no longer brings comfort. A dynamic you accepted for years starts creating quiet resistance inside your heart. If that has been happening to you over the past several days, I do not believe you are imagining it. If you have started wondering whether someone truly stands beside you, or whether they have simply become accustomed to receiving your energy without offering the same care in return, there is a reason those questions refuse to disappear. This is not emotional exaggeration, and it is not your mind creating unnecessary problems. I believe the yod is doing exactly what this rare formation is known for doing. Its purpose is to remove distraction, strip away illusion, and reveal the difference between what is authentic and what has only survived because it became familiar. What makes this even more remarkable is that the timing is incredibly precise. The yod reaches its strongest expression today, at the exact moment the new moon arrives. To me, that feels like the universe delivering a very clear message. Before your heart can expand into a new chapter, everything that has quietly kept it locked away must first be brought into the light. Attachments built on obligation instead of genuine affection. Relationships sustained by guilt rather than mutual respect. And lifelong habits of placing everyone else's emotional needs ahead of your own are all being illuminated now. I understand why that process feels uncomfortable, because releasing what once defined your emotional world is never easy. Yet there is wisdom in it. A heart cannot fully welcome new life while it continues carrying emotional weight that no longer belongs there. That brings us to the new moon itself, and to the reason this particular lunation feels unlike any ordinary beginning. Today, on July 14th, the new moon takes place at 21 degrees of Cancer. Since Cancer is the zodiac sign ruled by the moon itself, this places the moon in a position of maximum strength. Nothing softens its influence. Nothing weakens its emotional language. The result is an exceptionally pure expression of feeling, intuition, memory, and inner awareness. I truly believe this is the most emotionally resonant and psychically charged lunation of the entire year. Yet what convinced me of its extraordinary importance was not simply its placement in Cancer. It was the company it keeps. This new moon is closely linked with Mercury, which is currently retrograde in Cancer. Just 2 days earlier, on July 12th, the Sun and Mercury formed an exact conjunction. In astrology, when a planet comes within approximately 17 minutes of arc from the Sun, it enters the condition known as cazimi. This is considered a rare moment of purification, insight, and extraordinary clarity, a point where the planet is strengthened instead of overwhelmed by the Sun's light. Even within the confusion that Mercury retrograde often brings, cazimi creates a powerful opening where understanding becomes possible. What does that mean on a personal level? It means every emotional truth that has been quietly trying to reach your awareness has suddenly become impossible to overlook. Every memory that keeps returning, every unfinished conversation replaying inside your thoughts, every realization you have tried to postpone has been illuminated. The cazimi functioned like a brilliant light shining into the corners of your emotional world that you may have preferred not to examine. Now, as the new moon arrives, everything revealed by that light becomes the very foundation upon which your next chapter can be built. This is what I find so moving about this lunation. The beginning being offered today does not arrive disconnected from your past. It grows directly from it. Mercury retrograde has been leading you back through old memories, inherited family dynamics, emotional habits, and conversations that never truly reached completion. Not because you are meant to remain trapped there, but because genuine release requires genuine understanding. If the past few weeks have felt like an unusual mixture of nostalgia, sorrow, tenderness, and quiet optimism all existing at the same time, that emotional complexity has a purpose. You are not becoming overwhelmed by random feelings. You are finally recognizing emotional patterns your heart has been trying to understand for a very long time. Today is the moment when those scattered pieces begin fitting together into something meaningful. At the same time, this new moon does not arrive without responsibility. I do not want to describe this as effortless healing or suggest that a simple ritual instantly transforms everything, because another important influence shapes this entire lunation. A square to Saturn in Aries extends across the chart, and Saturn is never interested in shortcuts. Saturn insists upon accountability. It asks difficult questions that many people would rather avoid. It challenges you to examine whether your constant care for others has quietly become a way of avoiding your own emotional needs. It asks whether being endlessly available has allowed you to postpone your own growth. It asks whether maintaining harmony in every relationship has required sacrificing the peace that belongs within yourself. If hearing those questions creates discomfort, then perhaps that discomfort is exactly where the deeper work begins. The opening this new moon offers is not an invitation to become emotionally exposed without wisdom. It is not asking you to remove every boundary or welcome every person back into your life. In many ways, it is asking for the opposite. It is inviting you to become secure enough within your own heart that you no longer need to pretend to be endlessly strong. Instead of performing resilience, you are being encouraged to develop genuine inner strength. Instead of building walls out of fear, you are being guided toward creating healthy boundaries rooted in self-trust. Saturn's message feels unmistakably clear. The opportunity for a fresh beginning exists, but it asks something in return. It asks for complete honesty about what your heart truly requires. That level of honesty demands courage, not the dramatic kind that others applaud, but the quiet courage that appears when no one else can make the decision for you. It requires facing truths you may have delayed for years. And as challenging as that process may be, I genuinely believe this moment has arrived because you are finally prepared to meet it. The energy now shifts toward the individuals who are most ready to step into this new beginning, because 3 zodiac signs are about to experience this fresh start in a particularly powerful way. There are moments in astrology when an energy touches everyone, and then there are moments when it seems to single out a handful of souls whose lives are ready to turn in an entirely new direction. This new moon belongs to the second category. While every zodiac sign can feel its emotional intensity, I believe there are 3 signs standing directly beneath the brightest part of this celestial current. If your sun, moon, rising, or any significant placement falls in Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, I want you to stay with me because what is unfolding now has the potential to become one of the defining chapters of your year. These water signs have not simply experienced ordinary challenges. They have been moving through an extended season of profound karmic pressure, the kind that quietly reshapes a person from the inside without anyone else fully understanding what they have endured. This has not been a matter of temporary setbacks or everyday disappointments. It has been the kind of journey where you continue showing up, continue giving your best, continue trying to do everything with integrity, yet life seems determined to remain silent. Doors refuse to open. Progress feels invisible. Hope becomes difficult to hold on to because every effort appears to disappear into empty space. There may have been moments when you wondered whether the universe had somehow overlooked your existence altogether. If those thoughts have crossed your mind, I want you to consider another possibility. Perhaps nothing was forgotten. Perhaps every delay, every pause, and every unanswered prayer has been part of a much larger preparation that only now is beginning to reveal its purpose. The extraordinary gift of this new moon comes through the powerful water trine it creates. That flowing harmony allows emotional healing to move naturally toward Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces with remarkable ease. Others may still need to work through resistance before they can fully receive its blessings, but these 3 signs are already positioned within the current itself. It is as though they have stepped into a river that has been quietly carrying them toward renewal all along. Because of that, the opportunities arriving now are not random. They are deeply personal, incredibly meaningful, and in many ways long overdue. For Cancer, everything begins with identity itself. This new moon falls directly into your first house, the part of the chart connected to your sense of self, your physical presence, your confidence, and the direction your entire life is taking. That placement transforms this lunation into far more than another monthly beginning. I believe it marks one of the most significant personal turning points you will experience throughout this entire year. It feels as though the universe has been patiently watching a quieter version of you develop beneath the surface, waiting until the perfect moment to invite that version into the world. Yet the invitation may initially feel uncomfortable because it challenges patterns that have defined you for far too long. Many Cancers have spent years becoming the emotional foundation for everyone around them. You have absorbed tension before others noticed it. You have carried worries that never belonged to you. You have kept relationships functioning by sacrificing your own emotional reserves, often believing that maintaining harmony was your responsibility. After repeating that pattern long enough, it becomes difficult to separate who you truly are from the role you have been performing. This new moon asks you to make a profound shift. Instead of believing peace must always be protected for everyone else, you are being encouraged to recognize that your own inner peace deserves equal importance. At first, that realization may awaken guilt. You may worry that choosing yourself will make others see you as distant, selfish, or emotionally unavailable. Yet this energy suggests something very different. It is not asking you to love less. It is asking you to stop abandoning yourself while trying to love everyone else. That distinction changes everything. Mercury retrograde, moving through your sign, continues uncovering important truths connected to family relationships, your living environment, and emotional dynamics that have quietly drained your energy for far too long. Some realizations may surprise you because they reveal patterns you accepted without question. As those truths become impossible to ignore, Jupiter, now moving through your second house, begins supporting the next phase of your journey. Emotional honesty becomes connected with tangible rewards, greater confidence, stronger financial opportunities, expanding career momentum, and a healthier relationship with your own value, all begin growing from the moment you decide your emotional well-being is no longer something to negotiate away. For Scorpio, the atmosphere shifts in a different but equally profound direction. This new moon activates your ninth house, the realm associated with belief systems, spiritual understanding, higher education, long-distance travel, and the search for deeper meaning. More than anything else, this placement speaks of a complete transformation in the way you understand both yourself and the world around you. You entered this year carrying burdens that extended beyond ordinary emotional pain. Hidden beneath the surface were powerful survival instincts developed through experiences that once required constant vigilance. Remaining alert became second nature. Trust often felt dangerous. Expecting disappointment became easier than risking hope. Those protective responses may have once helped you survive difficult seasons, yet over time they quietly became walls that prevented genuine freedom. This new moon gently asks whether those defenses are still necessary. Not because life has suddenly become free from uncertainty, but because you have evolved into someone capable of facing uncertainty without living inside permanent fear. The supportive water trine flowing from Cancer enters your chart almost like warm water, dissolving old emotional residue that has lingered long after the battles themselves ended. Earlier this month, the Mars and Uranus conjunction activated your eighth house, an area connected with intimacy, shared resources, emotional vulnerability, and profound psychological transformation. Many Scorpios have already felt that energy expressing itself through unexpected revelations, sudden disruptions involving shared finances, shifts within intimate relationships, or startling insights into unconscious emotional patterns. Something may already have broken open inside your life, exposing truths that could no longer remain hidden. Rather than viewing those developments as setbacks, this new moon encourages you to recognize them as the beginning of a much deeper liberation that is only now starting to unfold. For Scorpio, this new moon is not simply marking the end of a difficult chapter. It is marking the moment you begin constructing an entirely different future, and this time, the blueprint belongs to you. The uncertainty that has slowed your progress for so long is beginning to lose its hold. Obstacles that once seemed permanent are gradually making room for movement, and what once felt impossible begins to look surprisingly attainable. I believe many of the delays that tested your patience are approaching their conclusion. New possibilities are preparing to appear, one after another. For some of you, this expansion may arrive through travel that broadens your perspective. For others, it may come through education, spiritual discovery, or an entirely different understanding of your own purpose. Whatever form it takes, the common theme is unmistakable. Your world is becoming larger than it has been for a very long time. The fresh beginning you have been quietly asking for is arriving as genuine relief. Not imagined relief, not temporary excitement, but something tangible that you can actually feel in your everyday life. After everything you have carried, I truly believe you have earned that sense of release. For Pisces, the story unfolding feels deeply emotional because, in many ways, it is a journey back to yourself. When I look at what Pisces has experienced throughout the past year and a half, I see one of the most demanding periods this sign has faced in recent memory. even if very few people around you have understood how difficult it has actually been. Since January 2025, the North Node of Destiny has been moving through Pisces. At first, many people assume that a destiny point should immediately bring blessings and opportunity. But anyone familiar with the North Node knows its lessons are rarely comfortable. It creates pressure. It awakens desire. It removes familiar identities and insists that growth continue whether you feel prepared or not. For many Pisces placements, this is manifested through stalled careers, lingering uncertainty about direction, overwhelming fatigue, and the painful sensation that every effort required enormous energy while producing very little visible progress. Perhaps you have questioned your own abilities. Perhaps you wondered why life seemed determined to resist every step forward. If those experiences sound familiar, I want you to hear something important. That chapter is approaching its completion. The North Node leaves Pisces on July 26th, and that transition is now incredibly close. At exactly the right moment, this new moon arrives in your fifth house, the part of the chart connected with creativity, romance, happiness, playfulness, and authentic self-expression. It feels almost like a gentle wave washing across your spirit just before the pressure finally begins to lift. The message carried by this lunation is beautifully simple. Somewhere along the way, while surviving challenge after challenge, you may have forgotten that your purpose is not limited to enduring hardship. Your existence is not defined only by karmic lessons or endless resilience. You are also meant to experience delight. You are allowed to create without fear. You are allowed to rediscover excitement. You are allowed to love your own life again. This fresh beginning is less about becoming someone different and more about remembering who you have always been beneath the exhaustion. The imagination, compassion, intuition, and creative spirit that define Pisces have never disappeared. They have only been waiting beneath the weight of recent experiences. Now they begin returning to the surface. The invisible resistance that has slowed your momentum is gradually dissolving, and I believe the coming weeks will bring a shift that feels almost physical, as though you are finally taking a complete breath after spending months unable to fully inhale. The renewal arriving for you is not simply about external success. It is about rediscovering genuine joy, and few transformations are more meaningful than that. Even if your chart does not emphasize Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, this new moon still carries an important message for you, because every zodiac sign receives its influence in a different area of life. For Aries, attention turns toward home, family, and the emotional foundation upon which everything else is built. Taurus is encouraged to examine communication, learning, and the way thoughts become reality. Gemini experiences this energy through finances, personal value, and self-worth. Leo receives an invitation into profound subconscious healing before birthday season begins. Virgo reaches the closing pages of an important karmic chapter, while simultaneously opening the door to meaningful new friendships and community connections. Libra encounters an opportunity to reshape career direction so that professional success reflects genuine emotional fulfillment. Sagittarius is guided into the deepest territory of trust, vulnerability, intimacy, and shared resources. Capricorn witnesses significant transformation within relationships, where old dynamics are rewritten into healthier forms. Aquarius is called to strengthen daily routines, physical well-being, and the practical habits that support long-term health. Although each sign experiences this lunation through a different part of the chart, the central message remains remarkably consistent. Turn your attention inward before searching outward. Allow yourself to recognize what you truly feel, rather than what you believe you should feel. Plant a single intention today that grows from emotional honesty instead of expectation. I believe the beginnings created beneath this new moon possess unusual endurance because they are rooted in authenticity rather than performance. If you ask me what deserves your attention today, I would not recommend forcing ambitious plans or trying to control every outcome. That approach does not harmonize with the nurturing spirit of Cancer. Instead, create an environment where your nervous system can finally relax. If comfort means remaining at home, surrounded by familiar spaces, honor that feeling. If preparing a meal connected with warm memories brings you peace, allow yourself that experience. If your heart longs for an honest conversation with someone who truly understands you, give yourself permission to have it. And if silence feels like the greatest gift, then embrace that stillness without guilt. Choose one intention, only one, and let it emerge from the deepest place inside you. Do not choose what appears impressive. Do not choose what sounds spiritually perfect. Choose the desire that reflects what your heart honestly needs in order to feel complete. To me, that is the true purpose of this new moon. It is not inviting you to perform the appearance of healing. It is inviting you to experience healing itself. It asks you to loosen the grip around your heart and allow it to open again, not because the world has suddenly proven itself worthy of your trust, but because you have developed enough trust in yourself to face whatever life may bring. That movement away from constant self-protection and toward genuine self-trust is, in my view, the most powerful, fresh beginning this lunation has to offer. It is the quiet transformation capable of changing everything that follows. Before we finish, I simply want to thank you for spending this time with me. Your willingness to stay through this entire journey truly means more than you probably realize. If this message spoke to you, and you would like to continue exploring these astrological moments together, I would be grateful if you chose to subscribe. Your support genuinely helps this community continue growing. I would also love to hear from you in the comments. Share your zodiac sign. Tell me what experiences have been unfolding in your own life. Let me know whether any part of today's message reflected what you have been feeling. I take time to read every comment, because hearing your stories reminds me that none of us are walking these transformations alone. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Honor what your heart is revealing, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.